All right, so you're prepped and ready for season, and you've done everything you need to do, but we all know guys that just fall apart in the heat of the moment. And we've been there. We've been hunting long enough. You know, it happens, right? But that's something that I talk about a lot is the mental side of archery in general, not even just bow hunting, but archery.
Yeah.
And when you throw a live deer into the mix, it gets even worse. But I feel like the best bow hunters I know are able to really gather their emotions in the heat of the moment, which obviously that's why we do what we do, because it's so exhilarating, so exciting. But if you let those emotions take control, a lot of bad things can happen.
Yeah, for sure. Like, I don't know. I've been doing a lot of Bible studies lately, and I feel like I can't remember the exact chapter and verse or whatever, but it's in Romans, I believe, and it's like, take your thoughts captive. Like, we're all in control of that. And as hard as it may be sometimes, like, now in the summertime and before season is the best time to prepare for that. So like it all starts right out there in your backyard, just shooting the bow, man, and just visualizing, thinking about what those scenarios are going to be like. Just trying to put yourself in that position mentally when you're out there in the fall and that buck's coming in. I don't know about you, but I usually like when it happens a lot quicker than longer. Like
Sure.
When you can see him 300-400 yards away, just slow rolling his way in.
I've had those hunts like you're like, oh, here he comes, and you get all excited, and then he like takes forever, and you're like, man, he's gonna get here, and then like, oh yeah, here he comes. Oh, we're running out of light. So that's the roller coaster of bow hunting. But confidence is everything in archery and bow hunting, and so the only way to build that confidence is practice by shooting in the yard, like you're saying, or a lot of the farms that we hunt and manage are extremely high deer populations and need really heavy doe harvests, and like, go out in there and shoot a doe. Like that, I tell people that all the time. Go shoot a doe, or 3 or 4 if you need to. I mean, that builds so much confidence because it's not as much of a high pressure situation for most people, to where they don't maybe get into their thoughts and overthink things as much. And so, practice makes perfect. Go to Texas.
Yeah, you can go to Texas too. That's a target-rich environment. But yeah, like what you said about shooting a doe, there's been plenty of times where we've missed or whatever, and you get down, you've been up high, and then now you're at a low, and it's like, get back out there, shoot a doe, fill the freezer, and get your confidence back up high, because it's easy to be low sometimes. And I don't know, getting a doe under the belt helps quite a bit.
Yeah, I know that I historically, obviously, when I first started bow hunting, learned how to manage those emotions early on, but then I felt really confident in my shooting and my ability, and I got humbled big time when you and I went to Nebraska to hunt mule deer for the first time, just because it was different than anything we'd ever done before. Like in a tree stand, you got a deer most likely 20 to 30 yards most shots, that we're setting up for, and they're walking down a trail, they're coming from the left, they're going to be here, I'm going to stop them right here, they're going to stop, give me a nice still shot, pick a spot, touch the trigger off, and you're good. When we come to mule deer hunting, that was a different world. Spot and stock mule deer hunting with a bow is very, very, very difficult. And while you might have 5-10 seconds as a deer, you stop a deer for a whitetail. Like with a mule deer, you got usually 1 or 2 to pull the trigger, and you got to make it happen fast. And you're popping up over stuff, so you're not like on the target. So that was a very humbling experience for me, because I think I missed 3 or 4 before I found one that was asleep in his bed, and I was able to sneak in really close and get the job done.
I remember all that so well because I was there filming all of it, and so Mike had all these mishaps go on, and he was just, like at the bottom of the barrel before he killed that buck. And I remember thinking like, well, I'm glad that's not me. And so you ended up killing a buck, and then the next year it was my turn, and I was like, Mike hasn't set the bar very high because of all the things that went wrong. And so I remember preparing for that though, and thinking like, all right, I was able to be there and witness everything that went wrong. And it helped me, because I was like, all right, there's no time to literally just sit there and settle in on the deer unless he's asleep. So in the backyard, I remember practicing and thinking like, all right, all the things you've learned up this point, settle in, take your time, squeeze it off real slow, throw that out the window, and prepare for this mule deer hunt specifically. Like, all right, you got to lock into your anchor point as quickly as possible, and then almost pop up and just once you get it on there, like your pin on that target and ready to go, like squeeze it off quick. Not initiate target panic, but like it's almost a rushed shot,
Right.
with control, some control.
Yeah, but the only way to, figure that out is practice. And
Yeah.
I got some practice in the field, but practicing in the yard helps
Yeah.
a lot. Even if you're going to get your heart rate up and pop up over a hay bale or whatever, just kind of get that practice in, because it's different. I will say that for sure.
Yeah.
And same goes if you're going to spot and stalk whitetails. It's going to be the same scenario. So
Yeah.
it makes tree hunting seem much more calm and easy.
Yeah, but to back to that point, like with settling in and thinking about or mentally visioning like that scenario, there's a lot of times I'll practice in the backyard and I'll draw my bow, and I'll sometimes be like, meh, and just try to visualize that deer stopping, settling in right on the deer and then taking the shot.
Pretend he's a 200 incher.
Yeah.
I know you used to have that target of that giant mule deer. That was nice. You could just really, all right, buck of a lifetime. Here we go.
Yeah.
The other thing too is I always like to really, rather than see a deer and stare at his rack and be like, oh my God, he's huge. Oh my God. And think about, oh, I got to get this deer. You don't want to go down that road. My thoughts are like, how am I going to get this deer killed? Where's my best opportunity? I'm analyzing every situation. I feel like I'm in the Matrix, and just like, is the deer, okay, he's coming down this trail. Is he following a doe? Is there other deer downwind? Like really, you don't want to overthink it, but you want to really understand the scenario. And because a lot of times I feel like, you have a deer approaching and you think he's going to do this, and then something changes, something different happens. And so you might be like, all right, like I know if something happens, like this is my window, he's in bow range, I got to make it happen quick. Because it rarely does play out like you do in your head. So I think just analyzing the body language of the deer, because, if they're calm coming in, without caution, usually they continue doing what they're doing in a pretty steady manner. But if something tips them off, if a deer gets downwind and they get nervous, like they're pretty sporadic on their behavior. So I think analyzing the body language of a deer and just kind of walking through the scenario in your head, not focusing on the rack, is crucial. So
yeah, and another thing to just go off of that is there's been scenarios where I'm watching, like I'm at full draw and the deer does something I'm not expecting, and maybe he quarters to, or he quarters away really hard, and he looks like he's leaving. And I don't know, with experience, I feel like I've really learned to not take the shot. If you're not comfortable, do not take the shot. It's not worth it. I've learned that the hard way, and I couldn't say it enough that like if you're just not comfortable and he's maybe further out, don't take the shot. You never know what's going to happen. He may end up coming back. Make you shoot him another day. Like you never know. Just don't.
And don't let your excitement take over, because I know you and I have been there before. Where you just get excited, and maybe you come to full draw a little sooner than you probably should have, and then like the deer stops, but he's quartered too. It's like you don't want to take that shot. You want to be patient and wait for the shot. So knowing when to draw your bow too is something you learn with experience. And you want to draw your bow and not have to hold back a very long time.
Yeah.
But there's been situations where we've had to hold back really long times, and let down even, and then draw back again. So it really is just a learning game, and you learn more as you go. So
and that all starts in the backyard. I mean,
That's
with
right.
repetition, you're building strength. You can draw your bow back longer. You can get in the right mental state and be ready for that shot when the opportunity presents itself.
Build the confidence.